So I thought I'd do another filter for Picture Lab today. And this is what I did. This filter takes a picture and then takes a block of pixels and shifts their red, green, and blue values in a random way, all the pixels within that block. So let's take a look at how I did it. So usual stuff here now, familiar. I declare some variables. I'm not going to waste time on this. Well, I'll take a look at this because this is different. Block count. This is how many blocks I want vertically and horizontally. So I take the width, which is how wide in pixels the picture is, and divide by block count. And that will give me the number of blocks across. Remember, this is integer division, so it'll get a whole number. And same thing with length. And then I have a variable tint shift size, which is how much the tint can go up or down for each block and for each color. So that's a lot. That's a big tint shift, right? 80 out of 255. So we'll play with that a bit after I explain this. So I declare some variables here, the amount of the red shift, the blue shift, and the green shift. And then, okay, so what I need to do here is I need to sort of have 4 nested loops, not sort of, I need to have 4 nested loops. The outer loops will sort of move me through the blocks, really the top left corner of each block. That's what these 2 loops do. So they're sort of moving in chunks through the image. Then for each chunk, I calculate the red shift. Let's just take a look at this. I take the tint shift size, which was 80 if you remember. I subtract from that math.random. Math.random generates a number between 0 and 1, a double, a real number between 0 and 1. That's why I have to int it over here. Then I multiply that times whatever that number is, 2 times tint shift size, right? Which is 160. Why do I do that? Because I want to be able to, I want to shift both up and down, right? So if my tint shift size is 80, and I subtract from that a random number between 0 and 160, then half the time I'm going to get a positive number for my tint shift, and half the time I'm going to get a negative number for my tint shift. So I do that for each of these. Then I have a for loop that this is the one that's going to move the two for loops, a for loop block that moves through all the pixels in a particular block, right? So I say this particular block row starts out at whatever row is. It's going to go to row plus block height, right, which is the variable of the size of how high my block is in pixels. And then I'm just going to keep doing that. So I'll move through all the rows in this particular block. Then here I do the same thing with columns, right? I set block call equal to the column from the outer loop block, and I keep incrementing as long as I'm less than column plus the number of columns in my block. And here's the increment. And now, because it's possible that over on the right side I will be because of the way I've done this by up here by getting the block width and the block height, it's possible that I will, using those as my starting points, I will, and counting my block height and my block width, I will get to pixels that positions that are not within the picture. So to prevent using those, I just have this if statement here, which just says if block row, as long as block row is less than length and block column is less than width, I haven't moved outside of the bounds of the picture, then do this stuff. So I get the pixel at that location, at block row and block column. I shift the red color with whatever my shift value is, red shift is. Same thing with blue shift. This isn't really needed, but I'll do it to be consistent. I think I'd rather have gotten rid of them on that first one, but at any rate, then because I have the same sort of issue here with the red, green, and blue values, by adding or subtracting, I could have gone above 255 or below 0. I do checks for that, for the 3 of them. And then finally, when everything is okay, I set that particular pixel to the new color that's shifted. Okay? And just look at that again. And you can see what it did, right? The outer loop is moving. The outer loops are moving like in the chunks. And then for each of the inner loop is taking care of this particular block of pixels here, right? And so on, right? And then the outer loop will move over, and the inner of the outer loops moves over, and then we do another block, and then the inner, and so on, right? So let's just, for fun, let's just modify a couple of things so you can see how easy it is to make changes here. So we'll change the less of a tint. We'll go to half of that. And we'll do twice as many blocks. We'll do 20 blocks. Okay? And now you get a much more subtle shifting of the imagery. All I had to do to get that effect was to change those 2 numbers. And you can see over here, we're starting a block near the edge here, and it's those, the possible pixels, or the pixels that it calculates positions outside of the range of the image that if statement in the inner nested loops is for, so that we don't actually do anything, try to do anything to those positions in the picture. Okay? Now just to be honest, right, this is that I didn't, when I first started out to do this, this is my first attempt. And as you can see, this is not, I don't think, is nearly as effective as the other filter. What I did here is I tinted all of the pixels in this long horizontal block, then in this long horizontal block, and so on, right, down. And then I came and retinted all of the pixels in this block, and then in this block. And it, you know, it kind of does it, but not nearly as effectively as my second attempt, which does exactly what I was hoping it would do, this one. So, this is common, right? Your first attempt to do a code may not work, so you have to stop and think about it and say, okay, what did I get wrong? And go back and try it again. All right, so that's the filter for today. Thanks.